the podcast. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Today I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. I'm giving you a very special, very exaggerated, very English. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. Perfect day here in Burnley. Lovely, lovely sunny day here in the United Kingdom. It's beautiful.
Well, listen, I know you've been in training, trying to throw down as many pints as you can, getting ready. You've been in England for less than 12 hours. Are you drunk? Have you entered into any coal mines? Have you joined Peaky Blinders? Are you carrying razor blades in your cap? What's happening in Burnley right now?
God bless my cousins. They bought me Coors Light because they said that they think I only could drink light beer. So I had a Coors Light, and I've said a couple of in it. So other than that, that's as British as I've gotten so far. So early days here. I've only Chad knows I landed this morning. I'm on 2 hours of sleep, and yeah, tonight I'm sure it's like 6:30 here. So I'm sure after this call, I'm gonna have a couple of drinks with my cousin. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, what's going to happen? Are you going to go to a pub? Like, what happens in England?
Yeah, like literally, I mean, that's why I love England. I'm a block away. So we'll walk down to the local pub, have some fish and chips, have a couple of drinks, and watch some football matches. It'll be a good night.
I feel like you on 2 hours of sleep flying overnight is no different than me staying up to watch the end of the NBA Finals, which is about 2.5 hours past my bedtime. Uh, we're going to talk a little bit about that today with our brilliant analyst, host of the Buckets podcast, the man who made us last week bet the OKC Thunder in six, as well as the Pacers in seven. You know him as the man who says the word subsequent, Mr. Matt Moore.
I did it again this week. I
Did you
did it
really?
again on a show and was just killing myself for it. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm gonna go to like a hypnotist therapist to get me to say subsequent correctly.
I don't even think they say it like that in England. Like it's not even a
No,
word in the
nope, it's
English
just me.
language.
It's just me. I'm the problem. It's me.
You're not the problem for us, Matt Moore, because after our conversation last week, me and Simon both bet on the Thunder to win in six, and it's looking decent. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, we can talk a little bit about the game. There's a lot to say, not just about the game, but since the last time we spoke, there's a lot of activity in a variety of markets for the NBA, whether it's what's going to happen with Kevin Durant. And I think that has subsequent value in the betting markets for where we think he might land. There are conversations for top five markets for the NBA draft. Desmond Bain was traded from Memphis to Orlando. That got to me, kind of an outsized reaction from people, but also having an impact on what people think now of the Eastern Conference in the NBA. So there's a lot to break down when it comes to NBA right now. We're entering into that super dramatic high school drama offseason of the NBA, which I love. But right now, as we talk about it, the Thunder have a 3-2 lead. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging about 33 a game. Jalen Williams had 40 last night. For the Thunder, they're up 3-2. Tyrese Halliburton has injured his calf. He played with a tight calf. Here's what's interesting to me. I don't know what's going to happen in the next two games, but I do know that it seems very strange to me how frequently it takes Tyrese Halliburton to get into the offensive flow in these big games. When he's great, he's great. But why is it so hard for him to find buckets in these big games? Too often, it's like the second quarter and you're seeing Tyrese Halliburton hasn't scored yet.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that happen depending on what the matchup is. Last night I think the injury really was pretty severe and it was enough to really hamper him. Now he's going to get so much treatment, like the amount of treatment you would not believe. I don't think people really understand. It's like, oh, he'll receive treatment, and they think it's like, oh, he'll go in and They'll work on him. No, it's like they go to his house, they work on him, he goes to sleep, they wake up, they come to his house, they work on him, he goes to the arena, they work. It's constant over the next, 72 hours before they get to game 6. So that was part of it. The other thing is that the Thunder have high pickup points, so they're pressuring him up the court consistently, and they've gotten to where there's like, all right, we have to pressure him all the way up the court. Then there's the matter of the pick and roll coverage. Like, okay, what's the easiest way to get Tyrese loose? Let's set a screen for him and separate. Starting in game 4, the Thunder were like, fine, we'll switch. They never want to do that. They want to play drop because it helps them protect the paint. They started switching, and like we called it on Buckets pregame, which you can catch every pregame before the finals and however many we have left at 6:30 Eastern. We talked about how look, Tyrese Halliburton unders are a great spot here because they're going to switch everything, and Tyrese is not good at challenging that, and that means the other Thunder guys don't have to help off, so his assist lanes are not there. It's just one-on-one, go get a bucket. And that's not Tyrese's game. He wants to shape it. He wants to force gravity and then separate things and create open lanes for guys or work off ball. And he's willing to defer if he feels like that's the right play. Jokic had the same problem a couple of years ago, well, not a couple of years ago, like 5, 6 years ago, where I would actually like Joker and I have like this ongoing tension because I would ask him, I'm like, do you feel like you're the best player on this team? And he'd always be like, no, not at all. And I'm like, Joker, like, come on. And Tyrese has the same thing where he just wants to kind of be part of a team that makes everybody better. He doesn't want to be the guy that scores 35. He wants to win the game by shaping it. But the Thunder are saying, no, you're going to have to beat Chet Holmgren one-on-one and get a bucket. And you're going to have to do it enough that we help off. And that challenge is what really works against Tyrese. It's what makes him disengage. And they've beaten the Knicks and they've beaten the Cavs because Nemhard, Neesmith, Miles Turner, Pascal have been able to attack those matchups off ball with the space that's provided. OKC's a different beast. And that's why I think you're seeing some of this with Tyrese on top of the injury.
Simon, did you want to jump in? Because I have another question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like you. I've loved this series. There's just so much that's going on. I mean, anyone that's just been knocking the series just really has missed out on what is why we love basketball. And to me, that game 4, that pivotal moment of SGA and just OKC stepping up, right? They're down 10 points heading into that fourth quarter. And I don't know about you, but I thought this is over, right? Like they're down to a team in, the Pacers that can close these games out. Can they live up to the moment and come back? And the fact that, we've all seen it. SGA at the end of that game stepped up, hit some big shots, had his moment. And now here we are in the next game, right? And Halliburton goes down. He does not look like the same player. We're all sitting here, right, that it's over for OKC. I would love to know your view, Matt, on this opening number because it opened 6.
Mm-hmm.
Professionals came in obviously quickly, took that number. They've taken the 5.5. I know some pros have taken the 5, and now you're seeing some 4.5s. Is this because of what you just talked about? Is Halliburton going to be game ready? Is that why this number is moving, or is this just professionals taking a stand on a number where this is a Thunder team that struggles on the road? Is that simply as simple as that?
So this is one of those, and we don't see this as often in the NBA. It really takes until I think the finals until we see this. From what I'm seeing, it very much looks like groups are fighting over the number. And we don't see that very often in NBA because there's not enough interest or money on it, and then the limits are lower. So this opens, like you mentioned, this opens 6. It immediately pops down to 5. There's some 4.5 showing, but now we're going back up to 5, 5.5 in the market because now today we're seeing sharp action coming back in on OKC. And whether that's Intel saying, hey, Halliburton's probably not going to be ready, or the immediate move was just based off of, all right, look, you pop this at 6. Indy's been competitive. OKC is 0-8 AT, or I'm sorry, now 8-1 or 1-8 on the road ATS in the playoffs. This is enough to get me to go ahead and take Indy as a reaction here with this price point. Now we're seeing some of this coming back on OKC. All the trends are going to suggest that OKC is the spot here. It does look like OKC's gotten to be themselves. Game 5 was the first game in this series where I was like, oh, there's the Thunder. Like I haven't seen them since the Wolves series. And I'm resistant to these momentum shifts because if you'd asked me, if you told me like, hey, they're gonna split in OKC 1 and 2, I've been like, oh, Indy wins 3, OKC wins 4, OKC wins 5, Indy wins 6. Like that's the game script. The trends and the spot with Tyrese Halliburton probably suggest that OKC is better than what that suggestion would lead you towards. The number's been really interesting though, where this is, I mean, this is also fighting over literally two possessions here, right? Like this is right on the verge. If it gets to four, that's like where the margin inside of like 5 seconds, the team will let it go. Like, all right, we can't get this. We're not going to be able to close this gap. But at six, now that's a different kind of margin here. So you're fighting over these very, very careful price points, I think, here. And you're seeing a little bit more sharp action fighting over this number than we've seen in most of the other finals, I think.
Are we getting a clue from this number and the movement how much Tyrese Halliburton is worth to the point spread?
Probably not because it's like he's going to play. Like Rick Carlisle said, he's going to play. And the question is now we're in this spot of trying to put a number on an ephemeral thing because we always talk about like he's 90%, 80, like there's no way to quantify that. You can't quantify the human body. So it's is if Tyrese is 50 or 40%, this number has to move two and a half, three. If this is Tyrese is 70, 80%, you're talking about a half point, maybe a point. And I think that there's probably some of the buyback today based off of, look, if Tyrese isn't 100%, how are they going to win this game? Like that's got to be some of this conversation is just how are they going to win this game if Tyrese is literally a decoy in the corner? Now, the funny part is a really good reaction would be it's Indiana. Do not bring your logic in here because they have defied that consistently all playoffs. But that's more of a gut feeling than a quantitative edge perspective. So I think some of this is probably reflective of the idea of OKC's got momentum. The trend support game 6 road favorites trying to close out the series. OKC is better based off of the power rating still. They've reestablished control of the series, and Tyrese Halliburton is not going to be 100% no matter what. Whatever he was before, because nobody's 100% right now. If he was 90, now he's 70. Wherever you land on that has to, I think, impact your cap on this. That's why it's going to be tough for Pacers backers, I think, in the spot.
What's a little bit deceiving is, Matt, maybe while I'm asking this question, you can look up what was the number in game 4 in Indy. Thunder were down 10. Shea hits, then they're down, I think, 5 or they're down 4. Shea hits the three-pointer, they're down 103, 102, I think. Then he hits that two-pointer in the corner when he bumps Neesmith off. Now they're up 1. From that point on, the Pacers only score one more point. I think the game closes 7. What was the spread in that game? Game 4 closed -6, ended at 7. Thank you, Matt Mitchell, for throwing that in there. So the Thunder ended up covering that game. What a deceptive cover and what a bad beat. I think that's what you're talking about when you're saying, look at this number. At the end, the number might be bigger than the game appears, than the final score
Yeah,
appears.
and it took off ball fouls too. That was the killer, right? It was like they kept picking up off ball fouls to get one and the ball. And that to me is like absolutely crazy. Like Mitchell has commented here that they covered for a total of 6.7 seconds. Now
Jesus.
I was on Thunder to cover in that game, and that was one of the all-time like thank you Jesus moments in that game. But yeah, like OKC's ability to win by their what is their overall margin on the road has been extremely difficult throughout the playoffs. We saw this, it not just the Nuggets series. We saw this in Memphis. They go down 30, they have to storm back, but they don't cover. We see this in Minnesota. They don't cover. They've consistently struggled to cover on the road here. The problem I think is also a series flow though. If the Thunder are up in that fourth quarter and Indy gets that sense of we can't do it. Like we're out. We've run out of gas and we're done. There's a lot of spots where I've seen teams in that kind of situation facing elimination down in the fourth quarter and like you just don't and the other team meanwhile is like just keep punching. Just keep punching them. We can finish this. We can win the title. That momentum shift, like that's the highest point of adversity is you are down in the fourth quarter facing elimination after playing for 6 months of basketball. You've gotten all the way here. That's a really tough spot. And so I think that both those things are true. Like it doesn't feel like to me this is a I thought game 5 was a good Pacers cover Thunder win spot and the Thunder got over the line because they were able to force turnovers for the first time, which is out of context for the series. This one does not feel like that. This one does not. I feel like if you like Pacers, you need to be on money line. If they're going to be within range of this game, they're going to have the extra edge. We can do this. We're right there. We can win this game. Thunder winning close to me is the least likely of the outcomes.
And
Oh, that's
I was gonna say, Chad, I was in the sports book for that game four. And just being with the professionals who bet on the NBA, I love talking about it because the NBA finals, the books get so sharp.
Hmm.
And even though I remember at some point they were down, like you said, they were down 1 or 2 points, and SGA gets them back into the game. He basically gets them up by one. And my buddy turned to me and said, they're going to somehow cover this game and while only hitting two made threes at the time. And then I think he hit one more. So they're up to three made threes. He's like, this is why I love betting though, because every sucker in this room is on the Pacers because everyone knows that stat that OKC has not covered on the road. And he's like, I know this is going to land on seven. And sure enough, the exact, what was it, at 111 and 104. And
yeah.
I turned to him, I was like, this is why I love betting so much because it's like, you knew, any better knew that was coming, right? Those stupid free throws, the Pacers missing free throws. So my view of this, Matt, is like you're saying, the back and forth on this number right now is the professionals are fighting because the books are getting so sharp, right? I mean, last game, what was the cover? It was 9.5. I think the final point was 11, right? Was it
Yep.
109? Right. So like the books, even with, Halliburton being injured, is still right there. Like the books are so sharp right now. So anyone listening to this, just be careful. Like you're betting to a market that is at the highest level. Like the books just seem like they're capping it so well. So I like what I'm viewing here with Matt Moore's talking about. I like the adjusted line, right? Is this not a nice spot to take OKC minus 12 and a half, a little Brandon Anderson, or take the Pacers money line, right? I love that type of scenario here. Or do you think this is gonna be a closer game than I'm giving it credit for, Matt?
No, I think there's I don't mind this as an alt spot. The trick is though, one of the things that because like I started live betting Thunder alts last night first quarter because I was like, man, Pacers are dead here. They're just looking like they're out of it. OKC's got this. If OKC wins at home, their average margin of victory in the playoffs is 26 points. This is good value here with this kind of number. Indiana's got a rare ability to just never get kicked off the ladder. Okay, Tyrese Halliburton's hurt. Pascal Siakam seeing three defenders. Miles Turner can't do anything. Here comes TJ McConnell, gonna make things happen. Here's Benedict Mathurin hitting big shots to keep him within range. And OKC's half court, this is the big thing. If you really want to know the reason, it's that OKC's half court offense never gears up. Their defense gears up, their half court offense stays at the same level or lower. That's all they really do. They never hit this gear where you're like, man, what an incredible offensive performance. They got an amazing game from J-Dub. They got a good game from Shea. They generated a lot of free throws for Shea. But like this wasn't they're absolutely killing him because they don't really have that gear offensively. It's all on the defensive end. It's why I like Thunder team total over and didn't want Pacers anything on their team total or the combined over. I only wanted Thunder team total because I was like they're going to go over this number because of the speed of the game. But their offense never really gears up. It just you hit a couple of more threes or not. They're not going to have this dominant performance where they blow you out because they shot 48% from three. That's not going to happen. If they're going to blow you out, it's because you score 80. And that's hard to do against an Indiana team that's whose offensive floor is so high.
When you look at this Thunder team, I was watching this game last night. And everyone talks about dynasty. They threw up that graphic about the Blazers, and this is the second youngest team since the Blazers that has a chance to win a title. And Shea is 26, and Jalen Williams is 23. And obviously, Shea's going to get a bag. He's going to get 70 million a year, and Jalen Williams, when he's eligible, is going to get whatever max deal he's eligible for. You're going to have a construct similar to what the Celtics have, right? Where you're paying north of probably could be by then $400 million to Shea Gilgeous Alexander and to Jalen Williams. It's hard to maintain a dynasty when you're spending that much money on two players. Handicap for me, this what this team looks like over the next 2, 3 years. Who are the pieces they can keep? Who are the players that are going to have to go somewhere else to get a bag of cash?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there's a lot of interesting elements in this. One of the things that we're seeing, Zach Lowe was talking about this morning on his show, and it's something I've been talking about for a while. One of the reasons that Memphis made the Desmond Bane trade, it is very difficult right now to build with three players making max money. and the numbers I've kind of put on it relative to where the cap is now, it's going to go up with the new media deal. But you can't have three guys making 50 million. You can have two, never three. You need two guys making 50 million, one guy making above 30 million, and then a bunch of guys making between 20 and 5. And that's how you fill in that roster. That's the new model the owners built into the CBA. Well, guess what? Chet Holmgren and J-Dub are both extension eligible this summer, and they're going to get the bag because you can see how valuable they are. If Victor Wembanyama had not gotten hurt and Chet Holmgren had not gotten hurt, I still think Chet might have won Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good he is defensively. He's insane. J-Dub, I mean, last night was for all of us on J-Dub Island was like, take a look at this. So they're going to extend those guys. They got one more year because those extensions don't kick in until 26, 27, the year after next year. They got one more year. And guess who comes off the books then? Isaiah Hartenstein. So you clear off the money then. Chet moves into the center role. Hopefully he eats some spaghetti and gets a little bit thicker so he can handle getting bumped on the interior and play small ball five. You're going to have guys, they'll fill in the rest of that roster. But here's the big question I have, Chad. I look at the J-Dub situation and I think a lot of James Harden 2012. And the misconception has always been that that move was made because ownership was cheap. And that move was made because James Harden knew that he could be an MVP candidate with a exclusive deal with Adidas being the front of their entire shoe line and be that kind of a star in that kind of a market in Houston. He knew that kind of earning potential. J-Dub is going to be faced with that same decision. And J-Dub may have a different set of priorities and maybe like, nope, I want to be here. This is what I want. But even then, I'm of the belief you're going to have to choose between Chet and J-Dub eventually. You can do it for maybe a couple of years if Bennett's like, yes, we've won two championships. I will pay for the second apron tax for a year or two. But eventually, you're going to hit that snag where it's like things didn't go right. The chemistry wasn't right. The fit wasn't right. Guys missed shots. Someone got injured. And now it's the second round. And now the pressure is how do you get back to that top level? And the only way to do that is to trade one of those big three because the second apron rules in the NBA CBA do not allow it. The other big one, Cason Wallace is extension eligible next summer. And to me, Cason Wallace is a guy that I would absolutely want to be investing in. Like he's a sneaky guy that can wind up being an elite level defender. He's got more bounce off creation. He's a good shooter. Like Cason Wallace next year, maybe one of the biggest names that we're talking about on the free agency market and talking about possible sign and trade situations for OKC. Kenrick Williams next summer, I think is going to be a big choice. OKC's got next year to contend. They might be the first team to go back to back since 2018. But the talk around the league and all these shows of like, how many titles is OKC going to win? I'm setting the over at 2.5. I'm like, let's settle down because this era is absolutely designed to prevent that, and it's even harder in markets like OKC.
All right, so that's exactly what I wanted to hear. And what will be the salary Jalen Williams can get? What is the salary Chet Holmgren can get? What is the salary Shea can get? He can get like 4 for $280, right? So is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's 4 for $280, depending on whether or not he qualifies. I think he's going to qualify under first team All NBA for the Supermax. I'll have to check on that. So that one's a tough one. The reality, the better way to think about it instead of getting caught into the specific numbers is just to think about if you're making this money, you're making over 50, you're making over 50 mil. And if you're making over 50 mil, if you're north of those numbers, even at 40, it gets really tough to keep those cores together. And then you got to think about the next time they're extension eligible down the line and what that's going to look like as well.
All right, so Simon, before we came on, we were talking about Kevin Durant. How do we play this market, Matt? How do we think about where Durant is going to go, and how can we preemptively get into the Kevin Durant sweepstakes by predicting the best landing spot with the best value?
So there's a couple of these that I think are interesting as ways to kind of look at it. I think the best way to do it is to think about what you're going to do immediately in the aftermath. An ideal situation, I understand because Chad, we were talking before our show about like the outsized reaction to Desmond Bain, right? Or I think you mentioned on the show, like the outsized reaction to that trade. But like the dream scenario for a lot of us is that Durant gets traded to Miami and Miami immediately gets steamed and then Orlando will fall in division odds, and that's going to be, I think, a great opportunity to get in on Orlando. The biggest thing I would do want to tell listeners, don't bet into the market in the first 24 hours after a trade. Do not do it. Like, unless you are ahead of the move. Like, if you're in the 13 seconds that you've got before news breaks and that market moves, unless you're there, do not buy into it. It's never worth it. These trades are always exaggerated in the market, and you're always going to be able to get a better price, no matter what it is. Like, it's very rare that you don't get a better price. If
And
we're
be
talking about,
and all for your saying, Matt Mitchell. I mean, Matt Morris. It's be careful, people. When you're betting into
yeah,
those markets, that's how you get banned.
yeah.
Like people don't realize it. Like books, they're looking for people like you that are ahead of the market, or you're getting intel quicker than them. So I feel like he's giving you good advice here of just being careful betting these type of numbers because either you're going to get got because you're getting bad information, or you're making a bad decision trying to buy in early and try to get a good number.
So as far as KD's landing spot, right now the favorites in the market are tied between Miami and Houston. I would say Houston is more likely because that's a solution where everyone wins. KD wants to go to Houston. Houston gets an offensive upgrade, and Houston can afford to send stuff back to Phoenix that Phoenix isn't going to be thrilled with. It's not the haul they want. But if the options are Andrew Wiggins and a bad first, or Jalen Green, potentially Jabari Smith, and a pretty good first, especially if it's one of your own that they own all of, that's a pretty good situation. Houston will try and squeeze them for it. The best way to kind of think of it for Houston, there is a disagreement there. I think Ime Udoka wants Kevin Durant. He wants to win now because coaches want to win now, and he knows like give me Kevin Durant and my defense, and we'll go win games. Raphael Stone, GM, I think is like we can get a top like if we keep squeezing them, we could get Devin Booker, who's younger, lot more upside. We can have him forever, or we can go get another guy with all these assets. Our investment in Phoenix's draft picks are only going to improve. Look how desperate they are. And that battle, I think, is really interesting. Like, does Houston want to help out Phoenix in this deal? But they are a team that can help them out without saving them. And then, so to me, between those two is valuable. The long shot for me is the Clippers at 50 to 1. They have consistently they got popped up over the weekend. First, it was like, oh yeah, it's Houston, San Antonio, Miami, New York, Minnesota. And then all of a sudden, the Clippers started popping up over the weekend. They've had a lot of talks. Like I've heard about Clippers talks for weeks now. I don't think they're as substantive as talks between Minnesota, Houston, San Antonio, even Miami. I don't think they're as substantive, but I do think that those conversations have been held. And I think that the Clippers, especially if you're Matt Ishbia and you're like, I don't want to be bad. I don't care about draft picks. I want to win games. I told them that we would win. Let's win. We got Devin Booker. Let's win. The Clippers can at least give you like Norman Powell, guys that will help you win now. They're going to want Zubac, and I don't think the Clippers are going to give him up. But if they were to ever change on that, then boy, would that be a really great situation. It'd be a terrible trade for the Clippers. But I also think Ballmer, coming off of that playoff loss, wants to get more people into that great new arena. I think that KD makes a lot of sense for them, putting him back with Harden. So Clippers 50 to 1 to me is the best long shot in the market.
And I feel like what you touched on, like we all know the East is wide open. The professionals, and it feels like the public are following them. It's Orlando, right? Is that the team that everyone's just piling in on now to win the East because they're just a team that people think they can make a Pacers run here? Or is that kind of fool's gold here that we're buying?
I think I think that nobody really knows yet. Like I wouldn't buy into the East market at all right now because you
Okay.
don't know if the Knicks are going to move somebody to make another thing because they got a lot of chemistry questions. Like they got things they got to figure out, I think. Indiana, you got to wait to see what Miles Turner does. Like Miles Turner is up there. If some team just comes in and is like, "Yeah, we don't care. We'll pay 40 million." That's a huge price for Miles Turner. It's also 10 more than what Indiana wants to pay him. I think they settle at 35. But if somebody offers him 40, then you could probably get Miles Turner in free agency. The Cavs are probably good value just because they're going to return the same kind of guys, but they might make a move. I think Jared Allen might be gone, and you don't know what they're going to get back for him. Orlando's maybe good value at plus 800, but I'm still kind of like, are you really going to want a big position on Orlando if they're in the conference finals versus a veteran team that's been there and knows what they're doing? Like, I like Orlando a lot, but I'm not sure that I feel like they're going to be the Thunder. I don't think they're going to be that kind of a team. Pistons, actually, to me, is probably the best value at 20 to 1 because they're only going to get better. And they are shopping in free agency. Like they are going for it. So I think Detroit's really interesting at 20-1.
That's
It's gonna be
tasty.
interesting though, Chad, to see what free agent wants to go to Detroit though, right? Like in this NBA, this like we're talking about Miami, San Antonio, like it's gonna be funny with Kevin Durant just somehow ended up in Detroit.
Well, look, he doesn't want to go to Minnesota, we know,
Right.
and a lot of guys but it becomes like one of those things. How much do you want to ring? How much do you want to play with Cade Cunningham? How much do you like JB Bickerstaff? That roster showed so well against the Knicks. That was a much closer series than I think anyone anticipated. And so if I want to win, I'm sort of a mid-career free agent. You get a really young team that's got a great culture. Why wouldn't you go? Take a shot, 4 years, try to win your title. Uh, Matt Moore, I like it. Tasty, tasty stuff. Thank you for giving us the Thunder in six. I hope you continue to give us more and more prescient nuggets in subsequent episodes of the favorites, as well as buckets. Don't forget Pacers, Thunder, game 6 from Indy, number open 6, now down to 5, moving back to 5.5. Simon and I will return with our next episode of the favorites Thursday on the Action Network YouTube page. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.